Kaye Wood is proud to present Kaye's Quilting Friends. This teaching series combines the talents of America's premier quilting innovator, Kaye Wood, and her guests. They present styles and ideas that span the globe, including quilting, new patterns, home decor, and even wearable art. It is simply the best in what is new, as well as tips, techniques, and time savers in strip quilting. Now, let's join the always entertaining and informative Kaye Wood.
Welcome back to Kaye's Quilting Friends. Today we're going to be working on some wearable art, and as you see, I'm wearing a jacket, a strip piece jacket. It's called the TwinStar Jacket, and you'll get to see a little bit more of the jacket a little later. What I'm going to do is show you how to strip piece it, and then my friend Jane Hill is going to join me to show you how to construct the jacket. This is a pattern we both worked on, so that's the way we'll do it. First of all, I'd like to show you the fabrics that I selected for my jacket. Right here I have 4 different fabrics. This is for the strip piecing. This one, and then we have a real interesting green, it's not really a stripe, it looks like a rope design. But for this piece, and let me just show you one of the finished diamonds right here. For the very center, which is where we're going to start, I selected this fabric, but I'm only going to use one part of the fabric. Right here is the part that you'll be seeing. And we'll cut that into a strip. And the strips I'm using are 1.5 inches wide for all of them. Then we'll be going to this rope fabric, and I decided to cut it lengthwise to get the effect that I wanted, instead of cutting it across the grain. Then I have this pin dot, which is really interesting. And for my final fabric, while you don't see it in this particular diamond, because you know what happened? I ran out of the fabric. But in my jacket, this is the last fabric that I have used. So let's get busy and strip piece these diamonds. We're going to start in the center of the diamond, right here. And we'll cut a strip for that and a strip for this pin dot. And I've already cut those and I've sewn them together. And I want to show you how we're going to press each piece as we do it. Right here, because it is a log cabin diamond, we want all of the seam allowances to go away from that very center. So I'll put it on my pressing board just like this with the pin dot up and press it exactly the way we sew it to set our stitches, and then let the iron do the work. We'll just put it inside just like this, and with the grain of the fabric, move the iron across the fabric. We don't want to over iron, we don't want to move it sideways along the strip. You can see what happened when I did that. Our fabric tends to stretch. Okay, we'll take this piece over and get ready to cut it. I need to take the Starmaker 6 master template and place it right so that the bottom of the template is right along the bottom of the strip. And I'm going to make my first angle cut. And now I need to know how to measure the distance. This gives me the accurate angle, but for the distance I'm going to need to use a ruler. And because my strips are 1.5 inches, I'm going to take the 1.5 inch line that's on my ruler and place that right along that cut I just made. And take the Starmaker 6 master template and place it or butt it right up against the ruler, but I have to make sure that it's also lined up with the bottom of the strip. If I were to just use the ruler, I can almost guarantee that with each cut you make, you would get a little bit off on the angle. So we line up this line, the 1.5 inch line for distance, butt up the Starmaker 6 next to it, making sure it lines up with the bottom. That's what ensures our angle is accurate. We remove the ruler and we cut our piece. And that gives us the center of one diamond. Now we're going to cut multiple pieces, but let me just show you where this piece fits in. And for this jacket, we need to cut 24 of these diamonds. So we would go ahead and cut 24 of these pieces. Then we're going to sew them to this very fabric, the pin dot, and we cut that into a long strip, again 1.5 inches wide. We take our pieces and we place them on the strip this way. Now I've already started to sew one, and if you'll notice, the stitching starts before I put the piece on, and that's really critical. And I've also dropped down, probably about 2 inches from the top of the strip. But I start sewing on just the strip, then add the pieces, and then we'll just keep adding all 24 pieces and keep sewing. And then it's time to cut again, or to press first. So we'll go over here and press, and we want to put it on our pressing sheet so the new strip is up. Press it so we set our stitches, put the iron in here and let the iron do the work and come across the strip this way. Now we would have all 24 of our pieces on here. So now we have a piece for our center sewn to a strip. And then we'll take the Starmaker 6 tool again and turn your strip whatever way is comfortable for you to cut, because we need to line up the Starmaker master template with 2 things always for our accurate angle. One of which is the edge of the new strip, and the other is this cut edge of the piece we already have. And when we have those lined up, then we cut our pieces or our angle on the new strip and just continue on down the strip so that our pieces now look like, let me find them here. We have our first piece. They sort of got tangled up. Okay, this is the piece that we now have, and we'll have 24 of those. Now we want to go to our same pin dot and sew our pieces to it. Again, starting on the strip, adding the piece, adding our second piece, and continuing on until all 24 are attached. Then we'll press again, and the pressing is important. New strip up, press it as we sew it, put the iron in and open it, and now we're ready to cut this piece. And each piece is done exactly the same way. We use the angle, and you can always tell how to lay it on because it has to line up with this side we've already cut and with the new strip. And we cut the strip along that angle, and that ensures that our angles are accurate. The next piece, again, you've probably guessed it, will be going to the pin dot again. And we'll be adding these pieces to it, one right after the other. And a good way to keep it in mind is the last strip that we added to this piece, which doesn't have any seams going across it. That's how you know it's the last one. That's going to go at the top of the strip or away from it as you sew it. And we'll just continue on in that fashion until we get all of our pieces done. Let's take a look at the finished diamond. Here we have the center we started with. We added a pin dot on all 4 sides, each time sewing, pressing, and then cutting. Then we went to our second color for our strips and our third color. And that's how the diamonds were finished. Now, I said we needed 24 of these diamonds. We're going to sew them into a hexagon, and then Jane Hill is going to be here to show us how to take the hexagons and finish our jacket. And I know you'll see how much fun it can be. Jane, I want to thank you for coming back again and sort of helping me take my hexagon or my diamonds and take them into a jacket.
It's my pleasure, Kaye.
Let me tell you a little bit about how this happened. My husband and I were at Jane and Wayne's house visiting, and I was showing Jane the hexagon shape, such as I have here. See, they haven't seen the hexagon yet. Okay, the hexagon shape, and I was making it into some quilted items, and Jane said,
It's a jacket, Kaye.
and I said, you've got to prove it to me. Through the magic of television, I've sewn my 12 diamonds, or 12 of the diamonds, into a hexagon. I need 2 of those because, Jane, this is going to be what?
Okay, this is the sleeve yoke unit. When this folds this way, that becomes your sleeve yoke unit.
Okay, and
Okay.
that was the basis for what you said was
Right.
going to be a jacket.
Exactly, and this piece, the shape of this piece itself also makes your jacket front and your jacket back.
Okay.
So this one piece is your master pattern for the whole jacket.
All right, well, I have mine. Let's take a look first at my jacket. As you said, there's 2 sleeves. This was an interesting fabric that I chose for the front.
Yes, and again, this is kind of a cheater way to do it, Kay. You know, you could do that yourself.
That's right, but I found this silk fabric at a shop in Florida, and it was already pre-tucked. So I didn't do the tucking, but I could have. But I thought it was interesting because it sort of changes from the teal to the purple and would coordinate well with the piecing that I did.
And if you were going to pin tuck that, you would do it before you cut your hexagons.
Right.
So they'd be the right size. Okay, there are 2 variations now, Kay. I think when you gave the demo, you had them do 24 of the diamonds.
Right.
In order to make it, and that will result in a jacket like you and I are wearing. Okay, but there's a variation of that in the book as well. So those of you who are want to make this a little faster, almost twice as fast, you can do the same thing, only do 12 diamonds.
6 for each sleeve.
6 for each sleeve, and then these solid colored diamonds that are set in, you use your diamond as a pattern piece again in order to cut these out of solid fabrics.
Okay.
And again, this is the sleeve yoke unit. This is a jacket made up, so you can see the variation, how the variation looks sewn. You do have a little bit more of the solid colored fabric showing than you have of your patchwork diamonds. So that's basically the difference. This also is a smaller size jacket, and we did this pattern in a size range from small through 3X.
Right, which is a great size range.
It is, and it's a variation in the seam allowance. Number of strips cut and seam allowance.
Okay, so that, and we also, for the small size, we cut the strips a little bit narrower.
Exactly.
Right.
So that does the grading for it.
Right.
But it is basically a loose-fitting jacket. So when you make this, you're making yourself a very comfortable jacket, and there is no batting in it. So it's a comfortable jacket to wear even in the summertime.
Even in Florida.
And I was going to say in Florida, but I thought I'd better say summertime. Okay, so basically once you get your 2 hexagons made, why don't we put this one beside this, Kay? Although these aren't the same size nor the same pattern. But the very first step you're going to do is to sew your 2 pieces together right here down the middle. Now this is actually center front and center back of your jacket.
All right.
Okay, so now I have that sewn together.
So we have 2 sleeves.
We now have our 2 sleeves sewn together. Let's see if we can open this up so you can actually see where those are sewn together. Here we go. Okay, these are our 2. Whoops.
You wanted to pull that out?
We can pull
Okay.
this whole thing
All
out
right.
this way. Well, we can't do it that way.
All right, here.
Here we go.
That'll
Okay,
work.
here are our 2 hexagons sewn together. This is the seam right there down the middle. Now this little circle that you see drawn there, we have a template that you're going to use. You fold your jacket in half, the way that I folded it to
To show the sleeve?
right. This is actually the shoulder line of the jacket. And the template that you're going to put on lines up, this straight line of the template lines up with your shoulder line.
Okay, with the fold we have
Right,
here.
and this line with center front of your jacket. Then you're just going to make a mark around the outside of your template. And you notice that the neckline is lower in the front than in the back. If you had this evenly set without having this a smaller amount cut at the back, your jacket would have a tendency to crawl down the back.
Okay, so you just
So-
want a little bit in the back,
Right,
most
this
in
is
the
about
front.
an inch that goes down into the back. So once you have that drawn using your template, you're ready to cut that out. And that becomes the neckline.
Okay, easy enough.
Okay, we need some scissors.
All right. Here we
Okay,
go.
and in order to cut a circle, we're going to fold this and just make a tiny snip. This is kind of like a pattern that isn't rather than is when you use a template to cut out a neckline like this. Instead of cutting out the whole jacket shape, we're simply cutting out the circle for the neckline. Okay.
And this, the neck opening is the same for any size,
Yes,
isn't it?
and the template is the same size for all sizes. Okay, let me get this cut out, just a couple of more little snips
right.
here. And this is a hard part, Kay. People don't want to cut their patchwork up.
I know.
You've worked all this hard to get it together. Okay, now let's flip this over and we're going to look at our lining, because the lining will be the next pieces that you put onto the jacket. You'll notice that I've put a different color fabric for a cuff.
Okay, for a roll-up cuff.
Right. Now this is the hexagon, the same exact pattern piece that we made, that we pieced together. This is a hexagon to line your sleeve. So you'd have two of those. And this could be the solid colored fabric all the way to the edge. But I wanted my cuff to roll back and be the print.
Oh, pretty.
So I just measured this up 6 inches and replaced the last 6 inches of the lining if you wanted your cuff to contrast. Okay, after your lining is put in, you're going to sew that seam all the way together and use your template again to cut your lining, which I've done already.
All right.
Okay, at that point, we're ready to put our front and back pieces on. Okay, now remember we talked about that piece that's the body of your jacket?
These are big pieces.
I'm telling you, Kay, you'll think you're making a queen size quilt when you get all these pieces put on there. But this is again a
Our
repeat,
hexagon.
the same hexagon. The process of setting this in is the same process you used for putting all your diamonds together. Okay. So actually we're continually repeating the steps that we did, just using a different fabric. Okay, this is the back of our jacket, no change. Now let's look at the front. The front of the jacket
Needs
is again,
to open.
right, is again the hexagon, but this time we split it open so we can get into this jacket. Okay, and after this piece is sewn into place, all you've got to do is release those few stitches, and then the front of your jacket will open up.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
let's put this on the form here so maybe it begins to look more like a jacket than a queen size quilt. Let's see.
Move it over this way. There, I think.
Okay, are we beginning to look like
I
a jacket?
think we're beginning to do it.
Okay, so basically all we have to finish now, Kay, is the underarm stitching.
Well, that was easy enough.
It really, really is. Now, as far as finishing the hem of this jacket, we have a few variations here. This little jacket is completely done, as this one will be once you have your, before your neck banding goes on. If you choose to line this, you're going to take this, again, that wonderful hexagon shape. There it is. We're going to take this point and bring it right up here to the point in the back.
And that gives us the shorter jacket.
That's right.
So it's already lined.
That lines the jacket like this one. The hexagon was just brought right up here to the top.
So it's really like a
self-lined.
self-lining.
Right, this is the deepest hem in the world, or it's totally lined. And in this one, I just put a casing across the bottom and put an elastic in. So that gives the jacket more the shape of a bomber jacket, a little more casual look than the more tailored jackets like you and I are wearing.
Okay.
Okay, and as far as the lining your front, the same thing's true. That little corner comes right up to the top right there.
And again, it's already lined.
Right. Now, if you want to make the jacket as long as the one you're wearing, instead of pulling this all the way up, we go up to this little part and we just take away, leave about an inch for your hem and just cut this point away and hem it. You could cut two of those, cut another shape exactly like this and totally line it. I think that's what we did on the jacket you're
Right.
wearing.
Yes.
Because it's totally lined. If you chose to just hem it plain, you would see the inside of your jacket like this one. Okay, this one just has a small hem across the bottom.
And it's not lined.
It is not lined. But I could have cut another piece, another hexagon, the same shape, and then sewn it across here and pulled it up. And it would have, again, hemmed it and lined it at the same time.
So if you've got your hexagon, you're all set.
Exactly. Now, all we lack finishing this, Kay, is the binding on the front of the jacket. And what you're going to do in order to do the binding, well, there's a little bit more cutting you're going to do in the neckline. We still have this pretty round at the neck, so we're going to have to cut this into a V.
All right.
So a small amount will be removed for the neckline right along here. Okay, then your binding that you're going to use to finish the front of your jacket is cut 3.5 inches wide.
Okay.
You fold it so it's about a 1/2 inch short. You don't fold it exactly double. I fold it like a 1/2 inch short. So when I sew this on my jacket, I'm sewing right through one thickness
Just one thickness.
rather than two.
To the right side of
Right
the jacket.
sides together. Once this stitch is sewn, then this just rolls over and you're going to finish it by hand on the back.
Okay. Is this binding cut on the straight of the grain?
This
or?
is cut on the straight, and I know you question that, but it works.
Okay. The neckline is straight enough.
The neckline's straight enough, and actually it stabilizes the front of this. In some cases, you are going to have a bias cut down when you split your hexagon open. This is not a stable edge. This being straight of grain.
So it really needs to be straight of grain, or you'd have a lot of
stabilizes it.
stretching. Okay.
And another variation, which is a really neat thing to do with this one, if you don't do anything at all, just leave the long tails hanging, you can wear it simply as a big shirt with the long tails hanging down. Or you can take those two ends and tie them at the waist, and you have a really casual look as far as the jacket goes. You can wear this with jeans. You could make this in silks like you're wearing and have a very formal looking jacket. So the TwinStar Jacket could take you most anywhere you wanted to go.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the fabrics we've used. This one we have at the table. You want to tell us a little bit about these?
Okay, these are all denim prints.
Okay.
And this is very muted. This is very soft sell as far as your patchworking goes. Now the one that I'm wearing shouts, hey, I'm a diamond, you know. If you'd use your strongly contrasting colors, you're going to get a nice bold impact. But when you go with the muteds like you're wearing or like this, it's a much softer look.
Let's take a look at the one over there that has some unusual, the black one. Yeah, that
Okay,
one.
this one, Kay,
Get this one out of the way.
I hate to say this about this jacket. This is a wonderful jacket, and the patchworking is wonderful, and the fabric is wonderful. But the very first thing anyone says to me about this jacket, oh, what interesting fabric.
They see this before they actually see
this.
the patchwork,
Yes.
which is okay.
It's okay, but when you've worked this hard to get these diamonds in here, really this should be the focal point. Another point I'd like to make is what colors to choose to work with. I just took the colors right out of this.
And these strings, yarn, that was on the fabric.
That was on the fabric. This is hand woven from Guatemala.
So you sort of took a shortcut just
Oh,
like I did with the tucks.
I have to admit it, I did. And then the little strings that I tied in the middle to add a little embellishment, I just raveled these out. But embroidery floss could be used as well for those little tassel-like
Gee,
pieces.
that is neat. What else have we, let's take a look at the other well, it's
Okay.
not denim, but
This is the one that is on the cover of the book. And again, this one is totally lined. We just pull the lining right up to the back.
so it's the
And
shorter version.
This is as short as it will be. And this is the rather boxy jacket. There are,
Oh, none of the elastic in like
no,
the
I
other
didn't
short
put the
jacket.
elastic there, but you can do something like put pleats in this and put a couple of buttons if you wanted this to fit a little closer, because this is a very boxy, loose-fitting jacket. But if you wanted to tailor it a little bit, another variation is to take this in on the side a little bit. You know,
Taper
just,
it in.
just
And you
to
can do
taper it
that
in.
after you have the jacket
Yes,
made.
I'd go ahead and cut my hexagons for the back and the front, try it on and decide if you want it more fitted. And if you do, either choose the option of the elastic, the pleats, or tapering it in on the sides.
Okay, well, these are really great jackets, and I think everybody out there will believe me when I said my hexagon, which was going to be a quilt, suddenly became a jacket thanks to your expertise.
Well, I just see things like that, Kay. I don't see things as flat things very much. I see them more as a dimensional thing that fits around a body.
Okay, so because clothing is your specialty.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed Jane's added touch to the TwinStar Jacket, as actually it became a jacket because of Jane. And I hope you'll get your strips of fabric out, your fabric for your jacket, and have a great time with the TwinStar Jacket. Be sure and join me next week.
For information on today's main demonstration, call 1-800-248-KAY or write to Kaye's Quilting Friends, P.O. Box 456, West Branch, Michigan 48661. Please specify program number. Kaye's Quilting Friends is brought to you in part by New Home Genome Sewing Machine Company, American Professional Quilting Systems, and Fiskars. Kaye wishes to thank all her loyal viewers, quilt guilds, and associates for watching Kaye's Quilting Friends. We hope the ideas shared with you will make your quilting more enjoyable.